Master the Knot! Alright, welcome to the chaos battle of my boy, my man, even though I'm not defending him today because Thurman stole him from me, but my boy, Yoshihage Kira, main villain of JoJo Part 4, versus Genturu, the bomber from Hunter x Hunter. You see, I was personally torn by the fact that it's my favorite JoJo character of all time versus a character from my favorite series of all time. But I'm taking Hunter x Hunter's Genturu, and Thurman is taking fucking
JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Kira. So,
yes, sir.
Oh, we don't have a judge, do we?
That's okay. You know what? We'll just we'll fight until one of us admits defeat or it's too long.
We should probably get that judge.
Fuck the judge. He's drunk.
Tell David.
No, Thurman, stop. He's very drunk. I don't want to deal with him, okay?
David, buddy, are you okay? No. You doing good, buddy?
Fine.
You can hear me? Okay, I'm glad this mic's really sensitive. No, you don't want it. You don't want that, Thurman.
Drunk David. Okay, so I want to edit this out for yourself.
Nah, fam, it's funny.
Alright, so I will start off by doing a summary of my boy Yoshihage Kira.
And I might jump in a little bit because he is my boy as well.
Okay. Yoshihage Kira is he's essentially what your average guy, right? He lives in a town. He goes to a job. He's a simple man. However, this is one issue about him. He has a hand fetish that we've explained towards the end of the part that he developed looking at Mona Lisa's hands at a painting.
Yeah.
So this is like slight mental disorder, slight fetish, kind of turns him into a serial killer because he's been killing for 15 years. The first killing he actually officially done was the girl's house, the one that Rohan grew up with.
The pink-haired girl, yeah.
Yeah. So after that, it's not really known when he was pierced by the arrow. So Kira is a stand user. His stand is called Killer Queen. Killer Queen has the ability Killer Queen for all you Queen fans out there. He has the ability to turn anything he touches into a bomb. So a rock, bomb. A doorknob, bomb. A button, bomb. He also has another ability, which I will get into later. So essentially, Kira has been living his life normally, killing women and taking their hands with his stand. So,
and he doesn't just take and if you mind me jumping in here. So what's interesting about him is hand fetish is part of it, but there's also a part of him that's massively OCD, and you kind of see this where he sees these women that, like, in his mind he has a hard time separating the beautiful flesh from the ugly personality. So I think that part of him wants to physically cut off their beautiful hands and just because again, he's attracted to the hands. He is the hand fetishist guy. That's his thing. He talked about when he looked at Mona Lisa. He just stared at the hands. Everyone else is like, oh, it's such a beautiful, look at the face. And no, hands, right? So I think that's why he cuts off the hands and literally goes on dates and picnics with the hands. Because I think that that's what he finds attractive, but he doesn't want to deal with all the rest of it, all the ugly personality, all the other shit, So that's fascinating to me. And I think my favorite part about him is that he's not there's no crazy plan that he's enacting. He just wants to live a peaceful life. He makes this very clear. He's like, I just want to go to my job, come home, eat dinner, and sleep. I want to have a good night's sleep every night. I don't want to deal with shit. You even see this. One of my favorite parts too is you go to his house and all of his trophies are third place trophies. In every picture that he's been taken, he has of himself, he's in the background. He is a man who tries to not stand out. He wants to be average because he does not want attention. But he just happens to have this terrible mental disorder / fetish that he can't control. And it's a very fascinating duality between his sides, that he wants a peaceful life but can't fucking do anything to change his mental disorder. So yeah, I love him. I love his character.
That's That's pretty much about it. This man's here to show why he's the best of the best.
Ha.
Quote from Yoshikage Kira himself. I want to show that woman the true Yoshikage Kira. I want her to hear how I feel deep inside. That I want to take your slender neck into these hands and strangle you to death. Oh.
So, Genturu, the bomber from Hunter x Hunter. He is an interesting villain. He's kind of the black sheep of Hunter x Hunter villains, and not a lot of people like him. He kind of goes under the radar between Hisoka, Karolo, and Meruem, you know? But I think he's pretty good. I always quite enjoyed a lot about his character. Like, there's one scene in particular that's, like, such... Togashi's so good at doing these little scenes that, like, you don't think about when you're originally... When you first watch it through, you don't really notice it because it's just like a scene, right? But like when you think about it, these little scenes are what gives them character and makes them interesting. And so there's this scene where he's doing this thing. Do you remember when he's using the risky dice to try to and he's making other people do it for him, so that they can get like a good item and shit in Greed Island? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So like there's this scene where like they're rolling it and he's such a fucking little troll where he's like maybe you'll get it, who knows, and then when they get it he's just like he's jumping around with his other dudes like yeah and he's like they're giving high fives and shit. Like he's got personality and he's really like he's interesting. Like he almost strikes me as like I don't know, because sometimes he comes off as this really imposing, like, oh, I'm gonna get you, villain. But sometimes he just strikes me as like a fucking dude in his mid-20s just having fun with life. It's fascinating. But to move on to his goals and ambitions and shit, he was in Greed Island, which was this video game that it was like one of those you go into the video. Let's say again.
Was made by Ging.
Oh yeah, and. It was one of those things where, you go into the video game for real type things, but it had a Hunter x Hunter spin on it, but, go watch the show if you want to know about that. But, like, he wanted the... Right. He wanted the prize, which was either, you basically... One of two things. Either you could take, 3 of the items out of the game with you, or, Barata, the guy that was hiring them, would just pay them a bunch of fucking money. Either way, he wanted the prize. And his way of going about this was... I'm gonna just fucking do it really ruthlessly and kill everyone that's in my way, and he's a master manipulator. He goes around doing things like one of my favorite things is when he I'm sorry, I'm fucking flabbergasted. I should get into his powers first. I'm too much on plot. This is a versus battle. Okay. Powers. One of the reasons we chose him as a good face-off for Yoshikage Kira is he can also turn shit. Well, it's not necessarily turning shit into bombs, but necessarily planting invisible bombs on people. So it's, kind of like turning shit to bombs. So he has this thing where, as long as, if he's touching you, like let's say he comes up to you, puts his hand on your shoulder and just starts talking to you. If he says the word bomber, that's the key word, bomber, boom, there's a bomb on you. And there's no way to get rid of it unless you touch him and say, I caught the bomber, right? And he can plant as many of these as he wants. So, like, let's say he goes around for, like, a fucking year. Just, like, being like, all right, I touched this guy on the shoulder, like, hey, man, be careful of the bomber. Or I fist bump this guy, like, oh, man, be careful of that bomber guy. He goes around just touching all these people. And in the manga, this is what happens. He literally is like, hey, guess what? This whole year, I've just been planting bombs on you slowly. You all have a fucking bomb on you now. And it's this ticking clock. So... He's able to use this as sort of like a hostage negotiation type thing, where basically he's like, once the bombs activate, they're bombs that are like correlated to their heartbeat. So like the more nervous they are, if they're running around, their heartbeat is the seconds, and every heartbeat is one more of heartbeat down until it explodes. Also, in case you're thinking, oh, that's a weakness, look at all that time that Kira has to go up and get him. Well, that countdown's going on. He can also just activate it immediately and blow them all up if he wants to. So, although it is implied that he needs all 3 of his men, and I'm not sure if we want to do like that he has his men somewhere in the corner. Probably not. So maybe he couldn't just activate it immediately because they had to all press their thumbs together to do that. But so that's one of his abilities, and then the other one is think just Bakugo from My Hero Academia. His main one is the really strong bombs that he can place on people with the keyword bomber, but he also is able to just pull a Bakugo and just like have explosions coming out from his hands, and that's kind of how he defends himself with hand-to-hand combat. So like the way he describes it in the manga is his main strategy is I place the bombs on you. And then, you can come, it's kind of like a game of tag. You can come and try to get me, touch me, say, I caught the bomber, but I'll be able to defend myself. You know, I can stop you. I got my Bakugo powers, essentially. So, yeah, that's the bomber.
All right. So, I guess I'll start us off here since we won't have a judge. Okay, so same rules apply. Energy equalized. So, whatever his dude's name is, Genturu can see Kira's stand.
Absolutely.
He can't see it. Kira can also see Nen, obviously. Both bloodlusted. Let's just say for Battlefield, let's say the Heavens Arena for the Battlefield. So Kira is a very strategic fighter. He's been when he was first introduced, his power can kind of he's utilized his power in a way to where it's a very clean kill, right?
Oh yeah. It's almost perfect for a serial killer, you'd say, because he can just kind of like atomize you with no fucking trace.
Because one of Kira's key things about killing is that he likes to kill. He likes to be unnoticed. He wants to be one of those people in the crowd that no one notices. He wants to be under the radar. So how he does this is, like, for example, this guy named Shikichi, he turned a 100 yen coin into a bomb. Like the stand touches. It's a contact bomb. So the stand touches something. He can choose whether it can explode, implode, or simply turn something into ash. Okay, and he also turned the doorknob into a bomb, which is very impressive, in fact, because Kira.
I hear it in the fucking background.
Because Kira was Shigeki was actually running faster, but somehow Kira got there first and touched the doorknob.
Because he's fucking Kira. He was just, if I remember correctly, he was actually just sitting in the windowsill.
Yeah, so he was sitting in the windowsill. So there's that. The man, look at that, touching the doorknob.
My boy.
Boom, killing worst character of the part.
Oh. yeah.
Another thing, he can turn a pair of panties.
Yeah, I remember this one.
Right here. So essentially, the idea is that anything he can touch essentially turns into a bump, right? Mm-hmm. He also kind of this is part of the ash, but he touches a man and he instantly kills him. He also is also shown how in the same, I don't know if it'll show it, but in the same part, he just literally just touches the woman's hand and she just evaporates. Everything besides her hand evaporates.
Yep. That was when he was trying to hold it back for so long, and he finally was like, "Oh, I got it."
Yeah. So there's that, and he also has a remote bomb in his, I believe, his right hand. It's a pure heart attack. It's essentially
are you doing the heat-seeking tank? I love that thing.
Yeah, so right hand, I believe, right hand or left hand. What is his hands?
No, it's actually. I'm pretty sure it's the left hand, because it's the kind of funny metaphor there was that when was it Koichi that has the sound stand?
Yeah.
When Koichi's stand made it heavy, his left hand got heavy as well, which is what kind of feels like when you have a heart attack. Get it?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the joke, is it's called a heart attack, and his left hand was getting all heavy. So yeah. But go ahead and explain how that power works.
So what this power essentially does is the fact that Kira picks who he wants to attack, and it's a long distance stand. So
very long distance.
It's how it works is it targets heat, the hottest source. So any body heat,
fire.
So it attacks anything with essential heat, right? So let's say there's a fire nearby, it will be attracted to that fire.
Mm-hmm. Koichi dodges it by turning on the stoves and shit.
Yeah. And it can deal explosions, which is pretty fucking big.
No, that's actually one of my favorite parts of the entire part. I gotta be honest, just to kind of gush about this part. I love the part where Kira is just like casually sitting at this cafe drinking tea, and so it like keeps flashing back to him as they're like fighting his stand, and he's just chilling. Like I love that shit. And then of course when the fucking hand gets heavy, he's just making a fool out of himself, like crushing the table, ripping the clothes off the waiter. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I fucking love it.
So essentially, what so is that, plus the thing is actually quite durable. He's able to take punches from Jotaro. And we all know Jotaro was strong enough to punch diamond teeth.
Yeah, you know, you are right. That thing was fucking crazy durable. The amount of shit they put that thing through. Like I remember, like this thing's still like Jotaro tried to rip it in half.
Yes, and his last bomb, which Red said I am allowed to use, is called Bite to the Dust. So how this ability works, he gained this ability from being stabbed by the arrow. Read the manga, makes sense. Again, and the ability is a ability that helps Kira hide his identity. So what he does is he has Killer Queen enter a host, enters the body of a non-stand user. So it has to be a non-stand user. Right. And what it does is it puts that non-stand user into a loop.
Fucking time loop. It's a time loop.
Time loop. And anyone who tries to find out who
Kira.
Anyone who trying to find out who Kira is gets killed. So essentially, if the victim tries to find out anything about Kira, where he lives, how old is he, how tall is he, blah blah blah. It's blown up on the inside.
It's pretty fucking amazing. Like there could not be a better fucking ability for him. Like
so, and once that person dies, the person goes into a reset. So no matter what, at the exact time that they die, they will die again regardless. Now, however, this is technically a weakness for Kira because, as we've shown, that Kira does not have Killer Queen besides him. It is stuck inside the host's body. So. It was how Josuke was able to.
Right, he had to call. I remember he had to undo it in order to defend himself. Right.
It's a very OP ability. However, it's really more so. It's not really necessarily used for combat. It's more so of like a.
It's to protect his identity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so and the reason I told you didn't have to do a whole Kira without this ability is because he's not going to use it against Genturu. Genturu doesn't give a fuck about his ability. It's only activated under immense stress, and specifically immense stress. Like the reason it activated originally was because it was all over. You know, my identity's going to come out. My peaceful life's over. That's really not in question here. Genturu wouldn't give a shit. He's just trying to beat him. So I don't see Bite the Dust coming into play. Period. Here.
Yeah, neither do I, to be honest, but it's just good to mention it.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. I love, that's kind of part of these videos is like, you know, kind of going through the shit they can do. Now, there's one more thing I want you to mention, Thurman, before, mention when he kind of combines his stand with that cat plant thing.
Yes, okay, so this, I'm gonna give you guys a little, like, a summary of what the stray cat is. A stray cat was a cat that was killed, was pierced by the golden arrow. When the cat died, its stand ability essentially transferred to a plant. And this cat, the stand user, and it turned to a plant, and the cat's ability was to be able to manipulate air. So Kira combined Killer Queen with this cat, and now he was able to make a bomb.
Being able to turn anything into a bomb, the cat was able to shoot pressurized air bullets. So, being able to turn anything into a bomb, he makes the air bullets into bombs, and now he has long distance fucking air bombs.
Yes. So this man is prepped for battle. So, how I see this going down, because even though Genturu can see Killer Queen, he still can't hurt him because the basis of stands is only stand users can hurt other stand users. Please. You can't, bro.
When energy equalized, the whole point of energy equalized is like, you can't pull the whole, doesn't have Ryetsu, so we can't see him, or he doesn't have a stand, so we can't hurt him.
But that's different though. You can still see, it's still not gonna harm you in any way, but you can still see it. You can still dodge the stand's attacks, even if you can't hurt the stand. You just have to.
Well, I don't think he's going to try to hurt the stand. I think he's going to go for Kira.
Exactly. So I mean, him not being able to hurt Killer Queen won't affect how the battle will go either
Oh,
way.
okay, yeah. I thought you were trying to pull some bullshit here.
Oh,
Okay.
no, I'm just saying that's the law that only stand users can hurt other stand users. But I'm saying it won't matter if Genturu can see Killer Queen.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
So here's what. So a couple things I want to bring up about the bomber here is he has very, very fast reflexes. One of the first times he shows up is he kind of like shows up in front of everyone and he's like, because what's cool about Nen is that Nen requires a self-imposed restriction in order to activate your power, and his self-imposed restriction was actually to explain his power. And this isn't for the normal Bakugo type powers that he has. This is for the big like placing the bomb one, right? So when he places the bomb, in order for it to activate, he has to explain it. And you know, so they understand the rules of the game and shit like that. So as he's doing this, one of the guys in this group that was trying to beat Greed Island comes up behind him and tries to snap his neck, and he easily just reaches back, blows his fucking face up, and they clarified that this guy's name was Jispa, the guy that tried to snap his neck, and that they clarified that he was the fastest and strongest member of their entire group. And he just, you know, so that there's your, you know, reflexes is good. Now he does clarify that the bombs that he uses, you know, not his like bomber ability, but the actual like Bakugo type explosions from his hands aren't as powerful, but they're still very powerful. They're not like the main ones are like insta kills because they're like blow your fucking stomach out, but these ones are less powerful. You'd need a couple to actually kill you. So, for example, this guy that he grabs the face of and blows the face up off of, like the skin on his face is gone. Like I'll put all these pictures up. Like his skin is just gone, and you wouldn't have seen this if you only watched the anime, Thurman, because in the anime they just have him grabbing his face in pain. In the manga, his fucking face is just gone. Like it's just blown off. So that's you know, that's the kind of power he's got there, and he can really maim you and hurt the fuck out of you. Now jumping over to his fight with Gon, Genturu is a very ruthless character. He fights ruthlessly, and one of my favorite examples of this is one of his favorite ways to fight is with Gon was using Ko, I believe it is Ko, where you move your Nen around to shield different areas and stuff. He was using Ko to protect, you know, what he thought was going to be where Genturu did the bomb, because he could sense where he was putting more Nen and stuff like that. He's like, oh, he's going to explode this arm, right? So what Genturu decided to do was, okay, I'm going to grab both of your arms. You can only protect one of them because you got to move your Nen to one or the other. So I'm going to grab both of your arms and explode both of them. And then I'm going to grab an arm and a leg and explode both of them. And I'm just going to keep going until you don't have any fucking limbs. That's the kind of fighter that we're talking about. And to clarify, in my personal opinion, I think that Gon got the most damage from this villain. Like, because, you know, Nephra P2, he just fucking destroyed because he was in adult Gon mode. Other people fight. Hisoka, you know, Hanzo broke an arm. Okay. Hisoka kicked him around a bit. Okay. Genturu, not only did he blow off one of Gon's arms, I'm talking bone showing his fucking arm was gone. Also, he crushed Gon's throat. Do you remember that? He crushed his throat.
Mm-hmm.
So, because Gon, one of his plans involved activating a Greed Island card. So he was like, all right. And he's very cunning. Like, he actually did this plan where he was like, I'm going to get him close. I'm going to pretend like I'm giving up, and I'm going to give him this card, because it's a video game, right? So he's like, all right, you come here and, like, look at my binder, and can I keep this card or whatever? And he got him close, and then just, boom, just crushed his windpipe, so he couldn't talk anymore. He's a brutal fucking fighter. He will get down and dirty. He will delimb you. He'll fuck you up. So I'm trying to think. I know he's fast, so I think he could dodge the air bullets. The main thing I'm trying to think about is my biggest concern is if Kira can literally just atomize someone by touching them, like, that is a bit OP. So I'm wondering if there's any way around that. I don't know. Like, I'm at a loss here. Oh, let me think.
Because it's kind of just so they can both turn each other into bomb.
It's true. But his would require touching Kira and saying bomber at some point. But I know Kira is a very, like, cautious dude. I don't think he would just let some random dude come up to him and be like, bomber, you know, or some sentence. You know what I mean?
Okay. So so from given the information that I know, first let's do some scaling. So I feel like this is gonna be a who can take the most pain type of thing. I feel like this is
Now,
gonna come.
and I'm glad you bring that up because
And-
Kira,
and-
even though his stand is strong, but when it comes to hand-to-hand combat and actually being a fighter, Genturu has him over than that. Genturu actually has some martial arts. Genturu knows how to fucking scrap down.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And that's a so he like most stand uses weaknesses besides Dio, he is a vampire. Mostly requires his stance to fight. However, he has the good thing about that is the fact that the Killer Queen and Jojo and like you could argue that stands have the same durability as their stand users because one of the applications of stands and stand users is that the damage that the stand gets, the stand user also feels.
Mm-hmm.
And this is vice versa. So because that's how Jotaro was able to kill Dio by killing the stand.
Right.
So the kind of people that Kira has fought, he's fought Jotaro, who, like I said, who's actually taken punches from Jotaro.
Mm-hmm.
Who's actually
He got pummeled.
Who was able to Jotaro was able to break Diamond Teeth, which is pretty impressive. And he's also taken hits from Josuke, who's pretty strong in his own right, being able to literally punch someone into rock, and like he's been shown to have some great physical prowess as a thing.
True that.
Now,
so that's durability, yeah.
So now, in the sense of speed-wise for Killer Queen, he was able to block attacks from echoes, which was faster than eyesight. That's Koichi's ability.
Mm-hmm.
Koichi's
right, I know. Either echoes, or I've heard some other fucking translation for it too.
She's essentially she's a great fighter. Who's able to fight against some heavy hitters, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
He was able to fight some good heavy hitters. He was able to trade punches with Josuke.
I would argue that his ability to fight against the heavy hitters isn't because he's physically strong, but because he's very good at outwitting. He's spent 15 years murdering and getting away with it. That takes skill. Because as you see, the second it wasn't outsmarting anymore, the second it was like an actual fist fight, Jotaro beat him the fuck down, and he was crawling bloody on the floor, you know what I mean? So like once it comes to a fist-to-cuffs match, he is not a physically strong dude. It's just the outsmarting aspect. So I guess first things first, does he outsmart Genturu? Both of them have done a lot of ploys. I mean, Genturu in the very beginning of the arc, I believe, let me actually find the number in here. He spent almost I think it was at least a year with this group, pretending to be with them, waiting to steal shit from them. So I mean, both of them have played the long game, tricking people to get what they want. Both are smart. If I'm going through things point by point, one is, okay, how does each of them put their strong bombs on them? One of them just has to touch them. The other one has to have this big code word. And even when he has the code word, then he has to explain the power, and then the bomb has to activate and then count down. Kira can just boom, you're dead. So there's that. That's one big issue. Another one is I'd say in convenience of activating the big bomb, Kira has it. Now in who's better at hand-to-hand combat, I would definitely argue Genturu, because Genturu, like I said, he's blowing off limbs, he's crushing fucking windpipes. Like the man is no joke. Like he was tripping up Gon pretty well. And he was pretty threatening, that man. So I'd say if it somehow got to a fisticuffs match where he could get in around his stand and not be touched by the stand and just beat the shit out of him, he could do pretty well. But again, I guess so what this battle to me comes down to is, can Genturu get around his stand and just man to man beat the shit out of him without his stand interfering? I'm gonna guess probably not.
Because the good thing about Killer Queen is that it can. I feel like the issue with Genturu is the fact that Genturu has to touch and say the bomber, while Kira can just touch anything.
Yeah.
And bomb. Plus, there's sheer attack, which essentially
the tank. Yep.
Yeah, so I feel like arsenal-wise, Kira has more going for him, and he's smart enough to know if he's smart enough to utilize it in a way to where, like, he's great at adapting, right? Like, because you
Very
can see
true.
this, although it's not very feat-worthy, but he's very good at because when he first took his new identity, he was very good at trying to adapt to his life, trying to going to work he'd never been before. So he's very, very adaptive. So I feel like we'll get some punches in. We'll get some punches in. I don't know if he'll be able to say I'm the bomber because I feel like Killer Queen would kind of knock him way before then.
Well, just to clarify, he just has to say the word bomber at some point. Normally, what he would do would be to try to like work it into a sentence casually, like, "Oh, be careful of the bomber," you know. So if we're saying, you know, tricking him is out of the window because this is one of those they're starting fighting each other, it would be touch bomber would be how to get in the bomb. But again, even then, the big problem is he has to, one, explain how the ability works to him before it fucking activates. Two, keep away from Kira so he can't do the I caught the bomber. Or three, this is the big one. It sucks. Like, if he had his dudes there, they can do the whole thing where they push their thumbs together and then he can, you know, override the countdown and explode him right away, but he doesn't have his, I'm gonna guess he doesn't have his dudes there for fairness reasons. So so he'd have to wait for the whole countdown to go down. So it's just he'd be like it's awkward. So yeah, I mean.
So are we in a agreement here that he takes his high difficulty?
Would you'd give him high difficulty, really?
Yeah, I feel like Genturu would give him some trouble, especially if he can see Killer Queen. That's the biggest thing. If he can see Killer Queen, then I drop the difficulty down very low.
I'm giving him mid diff. I'd say mid diff.
Because I feel like Kira has a lot of, because you can turn like the floor, not really the floor, but because you know how Gon to push up the tiles, like he could like turn like some of the he could break some of the ground and turn some of the pieces into bombs and chuck at him. He could like use the
exactly, and that's the struggle. Like, yeah, he can put bombs on shit, but it's not immediate. Like, there's a countdown involved, so that's kind of the big weakness. I'd give him good.
And I feel like, comes to durability wise, that Kira could outlast him with pain tolerance.
Really?
Because I mean, being punched by Jojo's stand is really hard. And I mean,
yeah, that's fair. I mean,
one of the biggest fights was with Gon, and what was how strong was Gon at that time? Like, what was
that was when he was like getting his Nen abilities down. He had Jonkan, and just to remind you, that fight ended with him. Well, first he covered him in gasoline so he couldn't use his bomber ability, and then he crushed him with a giant rock.
Yeah. So
no, I mean, you're not wrong. So I think that really the only main advantage that Genturu gets over Kira is that he's more of an actual fighter. So I think, like you said, I think that I'm gonna say mid diff, because I think that in the scenario where he could get around this, like dodge the first couple hits of the stand, he could like let's say he dodges. The way I see this going is he dodges the first couple hits of the stand, he gets a couple good hits in, you know, maybe even fucking crushes some bones, crushes windpipe, whatever he fucking does, potentially even blows off Kira's arm if he's good, if he's lucky enough, you know. But it would only take, you know, he'd maybe get 3 or 4 good hits in, and then it would just take Kira, you know, Killer Queen gone. That's how I see it. It'd probably be a pretty quick battle.
It would be an interesting one to say the least.
All right, well, good shit. Victory goes to Kira.
Boy, no Chicago Kira.
Thank you all for watching.
Drunk David makes his return.
I fucking love you guys.